welcome. Thank you for joining me here today for another piano lesson with Warren. This is the channel where we talk about everything as it relates to gospel music. So all the theory that you need to know, all the scales you need to know, the riffs, the lines, the runs, the passing chords, the technique, the repertoire, everything you need to become a better gospel pianist. By ear. We only do this by ear. This is the channel where we dispense all of those tips, tactics, and techniques. All right, so if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today we have a great lesson. I am going to talk about this whole idea of minor key progressions versus major key progressions. I've been getting a few emails where folks are confused about trying to take a major key progression and play it in the minor key, and they're saying, it doesn't sound right. It sounds wrong. Why am I not able to take the major key progressions and just using the number system and transfer it to the minor key and it works? And I'm going to explain to you exactly why we have to look at things a little bit differently before that can be worked out. All right? So stay tuned. Okay, so before we can first take major key progressions and play it in minor key and minor key progressions and play it in major key, we first have to understand the scale, because chord progressions are derived from scales. And, you know, all the gospel music you will be playing is going to either be in a major key or a minor key. And so you first have to understand what makes these key different. What's the difference between a major key and a minor key before we can understand how the progressions are structured. First, let's take a look at the major key. So if you're not familiar with that, think of this as a revision. So I'm going to use C for example. Our C major scale all the white keys. That's the C major scale. Now we have to take a look at the number system. In the key of C, or in any major key, the first degree of the scale is the 1. The second degree, the 2. Third degree, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're back to the 1. This is how the order of the scale is laid out. And so whenever we're playing in the key of C and we say the 1, we're always referring to C major. When we say the 2, we're referring to D minor. The 3, we're referring to E minor. The 4, F major. The 5, G major. The 6, A minor. And the 7, B diminished. These order does not change. So I just talked about the scale and how they're laid out. Now what I just listed also was the quality of each chord. The 1 is the major, the 4 is a major, and the 5 is a major. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are minors, and the 7 is a diminish. That's called the chord qualities, and that's how the qualities of the chords are arranged for every major key. So it doesn't matter if you're in the key of A flat, F sharp, G, B, D, E flat, whatever key you're in, that arrangement of the qualities of the chords will be the same. Good. So now that we get that out of the way, let's take a look at an example. If I say, play me a 2, 5, 1 in the key of C, I'm talking about playing chord 2, chord 5, and chord 1. So we go to chord 2, and we know that chord 2 is a minor. I go to chord 5, and I know that chord 5 is a major, and then chord 1, I know chord 1's a major. So we have 2, 5, 1. If I say play me a 1, 6, 2, 5 in the key of C, we're again playing chord 1, chord 6, chord 2, chord 5, and chord 1. So I am just going based off the scale. I'm building the chords based on the degree of the scales, and I'm playing only the notes that belong to the scale. So because C major has only white keys, I'm only playing white keys for my chords, and that's very important. Now we're in the beginner basement level right here. We're not talking about sevenths and secondary dominants and alterations and none of that stuff. Just the straight up progression as it relates to the key itself. So now, if I decided I want to take those two progressions that I just mentioned, the 251 and the 1625, and I want to move that to a key, a minor key. How does that work? Well, first we have to take a look at the minor key scale. Now, if you're not familiar much about the minor keys, there are three types of minor scales. We have harmonic minor, natural minor, and melodic minor, or I probably should have said in this order: the natural minor, the harmonic minor, and the melodic minor. Now, I'm only going to talk about two of those today, the harmonic and the natural. The melodic minor we'll look at in another scale, in another lesson, because the melodic minor is used more as an improvisatory tool. We use it when doing a lot of jazz improvising, so it's not really one of those scales where we play in. Whenever we're playing in a minor key, it is always assumed that we're playing in the harmonic minor scale or the natural minor scale, or a combination of the two. So let's take a look at A minor. And the reason why I'm using A minor is because A minor is the relative minor for the key of C major. Right? So C major, A minor. So the rule states, if I just play all the notes from A to A, I get the natural minor scale. Another easy way to look at this is the natural minor scale, in this case the A minor scale, is almost playing C major scale but starting on the 6th degree. Because remember, this is C major scale. So if I just go to A and I just play the same notes from A to A, I get the A natural minor scale. So let's put a pin right there and take a look at that, because once we're talking about these concepts, you want to think about them globally as it relates to all keys. So basically the rule is, whatever key I'm in, if I go to the 6th degree of that scale and play all the notes belonging to the key, it gives me the natural minor. Let's take an obscure example. If I'm in the key of E flat major, now if I just go to the 6th degree of E flat, which is C, and I play all the notes belonging to the E flat major scale, that gives me C natural minor. And so wherever you go, any key, that's how you can quickly find the natural minor scale. And in this case, it's always going to be what we call the relative minor. The keys are related. Now, let's jump back to our key of C. So now that we know our natural minor, let's take a quick look at the harmonic minor. Now, the only difference between the harmonic minor and the natural minor is the 7th degree of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This note is the 7th degree of the scale, and the natural minor theory requires us to raise this note by a half step. So whenever we're playing the harmonic minor scale, we always raise the 7th degree of the scale. And that's the only difference between the harmonic minor scale and the natural minor scale. In the harmonic minor scale, the 7th degree of the scale is always raised. Now, why do we do that? We're going to look at that in a little bit. But first, let's look at the number system and the diatonic chord qualities for the minor scale. Using the natural minor, A minor now becomes the 1. B diminished becomes the 2, C major becomes the 3, D minor becomes the 4, E minor becomes the 5. We're doing natural minor now. F major becomes the 6, G major becomes the 7, and we're back to the 1. That's the chord quality makeup for all natural minor scale. So now we have the 1, the 4, and the 5 are minors. The 2 is a diminished. The 3, the 6, and the 7 are majors. So it's just the reverse of what happens in the major scale. Because remember, in the major scale, the relative major, the 1, the 4, the 5 are major. The 2nd, the 3, and the 6 are minor. In the natural minor scale now, the 1, the 4, and the 5 are not majors, they're minors. And then what were minor before, the 3, the 6, and the 7 are major. And on the 2 becomes a diminished. Now it's important to know that, because if we're using the natural minor scale, now when I say play me a 2, 5, 1, you can't go now and say my 2 is minor and my 5 is major and my 1 is major. No, we have to stick to the rule of the scale. The scale says that the 1 is minor, or in this case, the 2 is diminished. So then my 2, 5, 1 in the natural minor becomes 2, 5, 1. So when you want to take a major key progression, 2, 5, 1, play the minor key, your 2 is going to be diminished. If you're working with the natural minor scale, then your 5 is minor and your 1 is minor. If I'm playing a 1, 6, 2, 5 in this minor key using the natural minor scale or the natural minor key, then my 1, 6, 2, 5 becomes 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. You have to account for the notes of the key, the scale. These are the diatonic notes. These are the diatonic harmony. And so we have to bend the notes. We can't use the same format and chord layout as the major. No, it's different. 2, 5, 1. Or 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Now, how is this different in the harmonic minor scale? Because a lot of the times, songs often fuse these two scales. Sometimes they may use the 5 as a minor, sometimes they may use the 5 as a major, and that's the difference. Remember, we talk about the A minor scale. For the harmonic, we raise that 7th. This raised 7th is what makes the 5 chord in a minor key major. So if I say play me a 2, 5, 1 in A minor, now my 2 becomes 2, 5, 1. This is when we know we're using the harmonic minor scale, because the 5 is major. If the 5 was minor, then we know it's natural minor, not harmonic minor. And these are the two distinctions. Very subtle, but it makes all the difference. I think it's safe to say 80 to 90% of the time, when a song is in the minor key, we can assume it's the harmonic minor at play, because we always want to have that nice 5 going to 1 effect, and it's best when we have that as a 5, 7 going to 1. So we know we're in the harmonic minor scale. So 2, 5, 1 in the harmonic minor. 1, 6, 2, 5 in the harmonic minor becomes 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. And now I'm just putting in some sevenths to make it more interesting as we would play it in a minor key. So I'd probably play my 1, 6, 2, 5 in A minor like this. 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. If I want to play a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 in A minor, then it becomes 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. And that's it. That's the difference between major key progressions and minor key progressions. So a 1, 6, 2, 5 in a major key cannot sound the same as a 1, 6, 2, 5 in a minor key. So this was just a quick overview as to the difference between minor key progressions and major key progressions. So now, go experiment with this. Take a few progressions, play them in the major key, and see if you can play the minor equivalent to those progressions in the minor key. And that should start to give you a nice grasp between the major key and the minor key, because oftentimes when we talk about modal mixture and borrowed chord, especially as it relates to 2, 5, 1 passing and all that, we're talking about pulling chords from the relative minor scale, using them in the major. So it's a back and forth thing. We're hopping out of the key into the relative minor and then coming back, and that's what gives you those sound. You know, so if I were to play the song, So I was playing El Shaddai, and this is a song that sort of moves between major keys and minor keys, because the song starts on D minor, if I'm playing it in the key of C, or I should say the key of D minor. And this is where it gets ambiguous, because you can think of the song as being in the key of D minor. You can also think of the song as being in the key of C major, and let me show you the difference. Let's think about it as being in C major first. I would say the song starts on the 2, to the 5, to the 1, to the 4, to the 2, back to the 5, 1, to the 6. Then back to the 2, 5 to the 1, to 4, to flat 7, to 5, back to 1. But I can also think of the song as being in the key of D minor. If I go D minor as the 1, to my 4, to my flat 7, to my 3, back to my 1, to my 4, to my flat 7, to my 5, to my 1, to my 4, to my 1, passing to my 3, to my flat 6, or to my 6 actually, to my 4, to my 2, to my minor 5, if we end it in A minor. So you can think about it as being in the key of D minor. Based on my experience though and knowledge of theory, I wouldn't say the song is in D minor, simply because the progressions move a little bit contrary to what is standard. You know, it just, for example, you know, 1, if we think about it as D minor, 1 to 4 to flat 7 to 3. That progression, just minor keys don't really move in that way. You know, and I'm saying this based on just experience, listening to hundreds and thousands of songs at this point. That's not a format in the way you would see minor key progressions moving. Major key progressions move that way, and it makes sense in the key of C major. 2 to 5 to 1. That's a standard way of how progression likes to move. To 4 to 2 to 5 to 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 2, yeah. So hopefully this tutorial was enlightening, educational, informative, and entertaining for you. This is what I have. So now you know the difference between major progressions, minor progressions, and how you can lift any progression from a major key using the number system and then put it in a minor key to give it that different blend. So for those of you who compose your own music or just want to experiment with a different flair of a major key progression to give it more a darker minor feel, this is how you go about doing it. First, have to start with the key, start with the scale, and stick with the notes of the diatonic scale. And then from there, if you want to add some extensions, 7s, 9s, and so on, you can do that using the same concept and theory about chord building. Okay? So if you're new to this channel, please, 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 please give me a subscription and hit that notification bell, because every Wednesday we got new materials coming your way. And if you want to stay on top of these, this is the best way to do it. Also, leave a comment in the comment section. I love to hear from you. I jump in the comment section and I personally respond to all the emails, all the messages. So I love to hear from you. And lastly, if you want more in-depth content as it relates to theory, chords, scales, everything you need, including song breakdowns of various gospel artists, pianolessonwithwarren.com is where you're going to find that. We have a wonderful community and membership over there where we just help gospel musicians to grow step by step from beginner all the way up to advanced. We have tons of information over there. Great resource. Head over there, check it out. Let me know what you think. All right? Until then, keep listening, keep singing, keep practicing, and I will catch you next week. Same place, same time, possibly, for another piano lesson tutorial where we'll cover various things. All right? So bye for now and have a wonderful week.